Do you remember the pinnacle of ancient Greek culture and history? Times of triumph, a time of heroes, where legends were made. It began in the late 90s. Greek mythology was all the rage. We had God of War slaughtering his way through the roster, Age of Mythology letting us command units of myth, Disney's Hercules, and 2004's hit movie Troy, starring every girl's childhood crush, Mr. Sean Bean. And of course, the reason you're here. The original Titan Quest carved out its space as an ARPG great way back in 2006. It was a magical time before the crushing reality of adult life. Things were simple, games were simple, and this week we've seen a glorious return to the days of old as Titan Quest 2 quietly released into early access. I honestly wasn't expecting this to come as early as it has, and I'll say now, if you're planning to buy this game, just be warned. The early access content is very limited. It only took me 6 hours to plow through all Titan Quest 2 had to offer outside of repeat runs. I've done every side quest, explored every inch of the map, and while I have a lot of good things to say, 6 hours of content just isn't really going to be enough for me to tell you to race out and grab it now, despite how much I enjoyed it. Titan Quest 2 is releasing at an interesting time for ARPGs. PoE 2 is in active development, Last Epoch isn't too old, D4 is still mulling around somewhere, clinging to relevancy. No Rest for the Wicked is trying its hand at reimagining the genre. Like its original Feast, there is a lot of competition in the market, and in standing apart from the crowd, Titan Quest 2 has stuck to their very traditional roots, and that feeling has been hard for me to put into words. Playing through the available content, I felt like I was back playing Diablo 2 for the first time. It didn't always feel as smooth as many modern ARPGs we have today, but I still loved it. That's not to say things haven't changed. WASD as a movement option is available out of the gate, and having become used to this style of movement from PoE 2, I stuck with it and it works. But I kept coming back to the feeling that this is a polished version of a game you could have played in the 2000s. And I say that with genuine love for the title. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. This will appeal to veterans in a genre as a nice blast from the past with modern touches. Now, I didn't play the original back in 2006. I actually played it a couple of months ago when I played through the entirety of Titan Quest, its Atlantis and Ragnarok DLCs. And while I loved the game and DLC, it definitely was showing its age, being nearly 2 decades old. With interesting gear and character progression, I enjoyed it though, but the combat and bossing left something to be desired that modern ARPGs have kind of fine-tuned. And this is the real success of Titan Quest 2. THQ have boiled down everything we've seen added to ARPGs in the past 2 decades to its primal essence, and it oddly feels amazing. They've remained true to the original in style and feel of combat, hacking and slashing through monsters, but they've revamped the character skills menu to provide a greater level of variety and freedom. Each character in Titan Quest chooses 2 masteries, and this becomes your character class. You don't start by choosing a mage or a fighter, you choose a mastery, which is, in essence, it gives you access to the roster abilities and passive skills based on its archetype. At the moment, only Warfare, Rogue, Storm, and Earth are available. Warfare being your classic barbarian, fighter style, Rogue being your quick assassin, and both Storm and Earth leaning into elemental magic. I loved the original masteries of Titan Quest. This system allows for really complex build variety without the overwhelming nature of something like a 1500 node passive skill tree, or the far too simplistic linear skill tree of something like Diablo. While both have their pros and cons, I personally love the complex nature of Path of Exile, for example, but Titan Quest 2 offers what feels like a similar level of complexity, but in a neater package. While abilities are locked behind levels, you slowly unfold the power of your character, and each level up feels impactful in its own way. You can pick up new abilities, or empower old ones. As you level your abilities through the game, you unlock the ability to augment them more and more. This Cyclone skill, for example, starts off as a simple AoE, but it can be augmented to add a second, smaller cyclone that surrounds the player. Or how about turning it into a blizzard instead, causing additional damage and chance to freeze? Maybe you'd prefer to spawn 4 individual cyclones for more specific coverage, 3 on the ground and 1 around the player. Oh, and how about making them explode at the end of their duration? Or turning the entire thing into a lightning storm that will shoot bolts at enemies in its AoE? Titan Quest 2's skill system brings the best of Path of Exile's support gem system directly into the skills menu, allowing you to chop and change what works best for your overall current build, and providing you meaningful choice in where you place each skill point, making the overall experience of building out your character a unique one. And of course, you're mixing and matching these skills across 2 different masteries. On my warrior character, for example, I chose Warfare, and then Earth, because the Earth Mastery offered me passives that would improve my physical damage by 1%, and also offered me the Fisher skill. What is normally elemental damage can simply be swapped to physical damage to benefit the warfare tree, while giving my melee fighter a ranged option for dealing with tricky enemies. Now, as I mentioned, with 6 hours of content, I hit only around level 20. Not nearly enough to fully explore a complete character build, but it's a strong showing for an early access release. And while 4 masteries is a little on the slim side for number of character builds that may interest you as an individual, the original Titan Quest had 11 all up, including those added in the DLC. As they build out this roster of options, the game will expand significantly, and will really see the potential of this system. Complementing their mastery system is the gear progression, boss and enemy design, and all of these are on par. They're very strong. Enemies retain their role to be mowed down, but provide enough challenge that I couldn't always run face first through packs. This is, I'm guessing, the first act of the game, and there was still a nice variety. Some crabs that shoot water beams that were a breeze for my melee fighter, but a pain for my mage. Some other enemies could create a ring of fire, limiting the available play space, encouraging good positioning, and some shaman type enemies that could buff those around them, healing them and providing them bigger shields. It's the classics you'd expect to see, and their moves are all very well telegraphed. If I was in a pack and something was casting, I'd know where it was going to land without it making the screen look overly cluttered. I know some people don't like seeing the blue or red markers on the ground, but I think for this system it really works. The gear is my one caveat for this first impressions video. It's stock standard. You do need to pay attention to what's dropping. It doesn't give you the Diablo style green or red arrows to let you know what's going to happen. You actually have to read the text. In the original Titan Quest, they had an item filter option, and while it was bare bones, I do miss it here. Not having that available right now kind of sucks, but I expect it will come in later updates, as well as a host of other missing features. The original Titan Quest, for example, had a great relic system, allowing you to farm mobs for their specific relic drop, which could then be socketed into gear to provide certain bonuses. This always made the world feel impactful, even when burning through regular mobs, as it gave them a greater purpose. They also had another great relic system that would require you to find specific materials to make an item that acted as a character boon you could swap in and out. These are currently missing from Titan Quest 2, but with a currently grayed out crafting option in the character menus, I expect we'll see this in the future, further expanding the gear options. At this stage, you're simply grabbing weapons and armor, and it does feel like the beginnings of a greater system waiting to be realized. All in all, Titan Quest 2's early access is a really strong showing. They've stuck to their roots. They've kept what made the original a great ARPG and have brought on a host of improvements, significantly expanding player choice and character builds, and bringing in a more modern combat approach while still retaining a legacy feel for ARPG players of old. It's a very strong showcase, and I really hope they continue to release regular updates. They've stated they're planning for more major content releases or expansions to the game every 3 months, and then smaller 1-monthly patches to help with bug fixes, balancing, those kind of things. So if they can meet that cadence, there's a nice kind of league style system here that we see from other ARPGs at the moment. It seems like everyone's running for that 3-month cadence of updates, but that remains to be seen. They've also stated they plan to remain in early access until the end of 2026. Again, let's hold our breath for that one. If they need more time to cook, let them cook. That's always my view on these things. They need time to flesh out their game. I know people want a ballpark kind of release date. I think that's what this is. Late 2026. I'd be surprised to see it happen. I'd say we're going to see it probably midway through 2027, based on what we see from a lot of other games. But hey, that's just my thoughts. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope it's helped. I hope it's helped you make a decision on whether you want to pick this up now. The one last thing I should mention as well, the game is currently cheaper than it will be on full release. So if you know for sure you are going to be buying this game on full release, maybe worth picking it up now just to save yourself a few dollars. They haven't said when the price will increase, but they've said this will occur in the lead up to release, which doesn't necessarily mean right before release. It could mean a little bit before. But until we get more specifics on that, that's all the information we have. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed the video, throw a like on it. Subscribe if you want to see more variety gaming content. You being here, that's what really matters. If you want to see even more content from myself, I stream right here on YouTube and Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 PM Australian Western Standard Time. Feel free to come hang out. We're always playing new games, and there's always some fun happening in chat. Until then, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.